Part 3.
Just a quick recap. Brian doesn't have a toe. Youngstown can't brew beer. Sign up for the Patreon.
All right. Let's jump into the last but certainly not least. We're jumping into my pick, which is A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is part 4, The Dream Master. So we should call out, this is the direct follow-up to Dream Warriors, which I will say right off the bat, because I've been pretty vocal about this, absolute dregs of the franchise here, but it is a dramatic drop off from Dream Warriors, but at least we get a little bit of the residual, smoke from Dream Warriors, but not much, to be completely honest.
This movie is like a movie. It might as well be A Nightmare on ESL Street, because this movie is made by somebody who has English as a second language, and that's how it plays out.
Yeah. So yeah, this is directed by Rennie Harlin, well-known director. I mean, Die Hard 2, probably most notably, but recently did The Strangers Chapter 1. My personal favorite of his repertoire, Deep Blue Sea, I believe we've talked about on the podcast before. If we haven't done flat out, we've certainly talked about it a lot. And absolutely bizarre Sylvester Stallone vehicle cliffhanger. I mean, those are his big ones, right? But tons of movies, many of which have been. He does not have a good batting average, I will say. Rennie Harlin overall has like a couple of good movies, but overall his batting average is really, really bad.
Yes.
But
he's also the director of The Covenant. Do you remember this film?
It
was basically The Craft, but with boys. And one of them at some point says, "I'm going to make you my weotch."
How about I make you my weotch?
I'll never will you my power.
Listen,
Rennie Harlin directed
Rennie
that.
Harlin is bad. No, don't get me wrong. But like, if I felt the need to call that out because Die Hard 2, Deep Blue Sea, like there's some, the I think it was a remake, right, of The Long Kiss Goodnight. I don't know if it was a remake, like shot for shot. I've never saw it, but 1996, The Long Kiss Goodnight. But if I just read those, you'll be like, oh, he's directed some good movies. That's really about it. He has 34 directing credits, and most of them are, is that accurate? Director of 34 films. The vast majority of them are fucking bad. Or just completely or they're just nothings. But if you look at like surface level, those movies, and you're like, wow, Samuel L. Jackson is in a lot of Rennie Harlin movies. Like you would think like, oh, he must be good. He's not. He's really not good. He will do.
But he also directed The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Yeah.
With Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah. I'm calling from the Aida Pi sorority house, huh?
Here's the lowdown on Rennie Harlin. He will do anything a studio tells him to for a buck. That's kind of where he's at. He is absolutely. I don't think he is. He's not talentless, but he is unscrupulous. He will do absolutely anything for a buck. If the film, if a studio told him to do something, he says, if the money's right, I'm going to fucking do it. It's kind of the vibe I get from him.
Yeah. Well, I believe he is he's the director who replaces Paul Schrader when Paul Schrader tried to direct The Exorcist: The Beginning. Rennie Harlin came in and replaced him to reshoot the film. So
yeah, he is a bit of a studio shill. And for that reason, he's probably very wealthy and has an unbelievable amount of bad movies in his repertoire and a few good ones.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of what we're getting from him.
I will say, and it's very evident in this movie, like he knows how to point a camera and move a camera. He knows how to compose shots.
He's a competent maker of films.
Yeah, he knows how to, this film actually looks really good. And there's a lot of great set pieces and there's a lot of cool things that happen in this film. But he has everybody act as if they do not know what English is. And I believe they are doing it for his benefit. So he understands the movie.
Perhaps, I mean, it's a bad script. I mean, this was a bad script, obviously. And the best performances are the people who are the carryovers from Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have Robert Englund. You have Rodney Eastman as Joey, who's kind of the weakest link in that movie and is the weakest link in this one, too. Really, the big ones are Kincaid, and really Kincaid. That's the only person that is any good in this movie. Everybody else kind of fucking sucks. We'll get into some of the specific kind of. My dog just belched so loud, like actually made me turn around. He's just staring at me after he just belched. Anyway, we start off with a Bible quote, which is just a yuck right off the bat. This movie, bad. Not as bad as the other two movies, but it is bad. But it does have Running from This Nightmare, and that song fucks. So this is a sick-ass song on the... I'm sorry, that song is on my Halloween playlist every year. It absolutely fucks. You get the same, like, creepy little girl at the house, which may or may not be Maggie from your movie. Dream sequence right off the bat. Like, it's just a lot of the same stuff. She goes from... again, all three of these movies start super fast, super confusing. She's like in from the storm outside, and then like within 5 seconds, Freddy launches her like with this like exploding window. I don't know. It doesn't really hurt her. She doesn't have a scratch on her, but it's just like, she's in the dream environment right off the bat. Now she's in Freddy's boiler room, and her like her dream mind or whatever calls Joey and Kincaid from Dream Warriors to come and help her. And Kincaid picks up right where he left off from Dream Warriors. So that's what I mean when I say he's the best person in this movie. He's just like spitting shit, talking tough, just doing Kincaid stuff. If you remember Dream Warriors, obviously we talked about that when we did this franchise the last time. I love him. He's the best character by far. Joey shows up too. He's kind of he's the same thing as Dream Warriors. He's just there, right? But we have the same actors for Joey and Kincaid. But Tuesday Night, which that's the name of a human. Night spelled like Knights of the Round Table. Tuesday spelled like the day of the week. She replaces Patricia Arquette as Kristen, and that is this movie's biggest downfall. She cannot hold a candle to Patricia Arquette. I read some speculation about like basically they just didn't want to. Some people were like, "Oh, she had something else going on." I assume they just didn't want to pay her.
Right. Yeah. You would have had to have paid her more, and knowing that you're going to kill her off, they probably decided it's not worth it.
Well, I imagine they just decided they didn't want to pay her before they even had a fucking script here. You know what I mean? Like,
could have been that.
Because then they just wrote in that Kristen, dies. But it's confusing because not only is she now playing Kristen, which was Patricia Arquette's character in 3, she's just a complete, not only is she a different human, obviously, who looks different, but she is like a completely different vibe, 100%. The actor, the performance, the character is totally different. So it's a little bit jolting, I guess. Anyway, Joey and Kincaid are trying to convince Kristen that Freddy's dead. Like, no, Freddy's dead. He died after the last movie. Guys, don't worry. We get a dog jump scare in a dream right off the bat, which is a bad start. But the bite was real in real life, and which we established, I guess, perhaps was established in 2, but by the time we got to your movie, that was happening all the time. But she's kind of just nonplussed by just walking around with a giant bloody wound on her arm. Anyway, she's off to school, and she's starting to get the vibe. Kristen's starting the vibe that Freddy's back, and no one else wants to believe it. We get introduced to some of the new group, just like in every one of these movies. There's a new group of teenagers. We have Rick, who's trying to be this kind of silly, try hard, trying to be edgy kind of boyfriend. We have Alice, who's the shy girl. We have Elaine, who's kind of like the rocker chick. We have Sheila, and Sheila's like a nerd. She barely is in the movie, honestly. She don't give the poor girl much to do.
Sheila is Lisa Tuttle. Or Lisa Turtle from Saved by the Bell.
Lisa Turtle, big Lisa Turtle vibes. And then we have Dan, who's kind of like the all-American dreamboat kind of guy. And Kristen is like the head, protagonist, you assume at this point. So Kincaid and Joey are pissed because Kristen is like bringing all this stuff back up, and they're like, no, it's dead. It's behind us. Leave all that Freddy stuff. But we know that Freddy's kind of lurking around as the audience. Rick, which let me look. I can't remember the name of the person who plays Rick.
Andros Jones.
Andros Jones, who you would know from, genre fans should know him from Sorority Babes and Slimeball Ballerama. But what else is he? I feel like was he on TV a little bit more? He doesn't have a lot of acting credits as far as like feature length films. Was he? What else would we know him from?
No, he was in that Scream Queen documentary you talked about. But
yeah, boy. Yeah, I feel like he popped up in stuff occasionally. I don't really know what. But he looked a little bit more familiar to me than maybe he deserved to look. But he's the skinny little fucking kid. But his whole thing is he's like a tough karate guy. But he's actually, honestly, he's less convincing as tough karate guy than what's her name in your movie, like who was kicking in quicksand.
Yeah. Well, Tracy felt more like an MMA fighter, whereas Rick here is very much just like stealing Karate Kid. Like he has a dojo set up in his room, and he has like the Japanese flag hanging in his
headband that he ties around. Yeah.
Yeah. So he just watched too many Karate Kid movies and thinks now he can do it himself.
Yeah, and he's doing like training montages and doing like basically just doing karate in the garage, which all of us did in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Rick and Alice's dad. So Rick and Alice are brother and sister. So Karate Guy and Shy Girl are brother and sister. Their dad's a dickweed. He's like, business dick, whatever. Alice keeps... Right. That's really, he's summarized and easily summarized in that way. Alice keeps having these like fantasies about like standing up to herself. And he's also like a raging alcoholic. I think we learn a little bit later, but she's always having these fantasies about standing up for herself because she's shy and everyone kind of pushes her around. And obviously Rick kind of looks out for her. I also forgot that Kincaid's dog is named Jason.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fun little Easter egg there. I don't even know if it's an Easter egg, just a fun little reference. But now Alice has obviously, or not Alice, Kristen has kind of opened the rest of the fellow remaining Dream Warriors, if you will. She was obviously not there, but Kristen, the character, was back up into all of, Freddy's shenanigans. So Kincaid gets pulled into a dreamland. And he's actually in the trunk of a car, and in classic Kincaid fashion, just like flexes and busts out. I love that he's like, he's just really mouthy and has like good comebacks and shit. But in Dream Warrior and in this movie, they try to like, he just feels like a theater kid that's like good at comebacks, and he's kind of stocky, but for some reason they try to play him off as like a badass. And like, it's somehow reason to always believe it. Like everyone believes him. Nobody questions. You're just like, no, you're just like a little like round theater kid. But for some reason, he's like a fucking tough guy in these movies. I don't know. I think that's part of his charm.
Yeah, it's not like Bubba Smith in the Police Academy movies where like he was where he's like legitimately like, oh, you were fucking terrified of pissing him off because you knew
you're
like,
you're huge.
Yeah, you'd flip a car.
Your biceps. Yeah, your biceps are as big around as my thighs. No, in this instance, Kincaid is just like kind of stocky, but also probably like 5'7". Like he's just not an intimidating guy. And he also has like a really high pitched voice, but he just talks shit. He just talks a big game, but it just works for him. And I think that's why why the character's so likable.
Yeah, I mean, he just happens to be bigger than everybody else is all it is. Like he's just he's bigger than everybody else, and like he's bigger than Spider in Jason Lives, or in Part 5 actually. He's bigger than Spider in Part 5. So like he's just has that little bit of intimidation about him. As far as lines go, I do like when like Kristen's talking about her, the dog biting her. And she's like, well, that's what you get for bringing my dog into your crazy ass dreams.
Yeah, he's just like always firing off lines like that. He's very entertaining. But now he's in this junkyard. He gets out. He's in this junkyard, and it's just a bunch of like, cars stacked on top of each other. It's like this kind of labyrinthian kind of junkyard. And his dog's there, Jason. And Jason snaps at him, and he's like, oh, what's going on? And then maybe the most inexplicable thing in the entire movie happens, where the dog pisses fire, which splits the ground and creates basically like an entry point to hell. That's I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. He pisses fire, splits the ground, entry point to hell. I mean, that's really that's the long and short of it. I'm
sure somebody thought they were being very clever in that Jason brought back Freddy.
Yeah, I guess. But why is it a dog's fiery piss? Like, I
don't know.
Who was so fucking high when they said that? And then everybody else was so high that they okayed it. They all signed off on this. It's pretty bonkers. But there's also a bunch of like bones, and then the bones all come together. And we get this like, the classic like reverse melting, effect where the tissue and the eyes and everything like come back together. And then that, a la the first Hellraiser movie. And then that's how Freddy is formed, basically in the same way that Pinhead, or no, it wasn't Pinhead. It was Frank in the original Hellraiser movie. That's kind of how Freddy is brought back, but it's all incited by a dog pissing fire in a junkyard.
Yeah. I would more than willingly bet that the original script said the dog dug a hole and dug up the bones. And Rennie Harland is a fucking nutcase and said, no, what if what if the doggy piece fire?
Yeah, because that's like some sort of relevance to him, and everybody's just like, whatever, dude. Like, just fucking.
He just thought it was funny. Again, Rennie Harlan is a real vibes based director. He doesn't, and this whole movie is vibes. There's not.
It was what he was feeling at the time.
Yeah, the script is not important. I I imagine like he made this film. This is an early film for him, so he made this film for everybody else in the world, not American. Like he's just like, yeah, whatever. It fucking, he gets from A to B, fucking kills a guy, he doesn't kill a guy, he moves on. And then this movie probably fucking rules if you don't speak English and you see it somewhere else. You know, you're like, hell yeah, there's a bunch of violence and there's some tits. Great.
Well, it's also like the whole like dog pissing fire is probably some sort of like Nordic folk tale that he's like just assumes everyone else in the fucking world knows what that means or whatever.
Yeah, the great wolf Freya cracked the earth with its fucking pee.
Yeah. Anyway, so we get Kincaid flops a car on Freddy. And you know, and he thinks he killed him. Of course, that's not what happens. Which would have been funny though if that was just the fucking movie credits. Kincaid kills him, fucking Freddy just flopping a car on him. No, but actually at this point, all the cars start just fucking exploding and like shooting flames, and just crazy fucking car cage like forms around Kincaid. And then Freddy pops up and is, you know, I think the line is something like Freddy's back, you know, so we know he's here. And then Freddy pretty, I want to say unceremoniously, but it's actually pretty ceremonious compared to how some of the other people get it in this movie. Comes up, stabs Kincaid in the guts with the thing. And Kincaid, acting his dick off, which you gotta love, but he's like stabs him in the gut with his blades, and he's like, "See you in hell." And Freddy goes, "Tell him Freddy sent you." So you know what you're getting right off the bat here. He also says 1 down, 2 to go, so you know he's now going after the other 2 surviving Dream Warriors. Joey really is somewhat less ceremonious, but at least he gets like a kind of a cool little set piece here. Joey has this like nude girl poster on his wall, and the nude girl is like swimming nude in his waterbed, which this is something that would not translate to like kids nowadays because no one has waterbeds anymore. But like when we were kids, that was like the fucking biggest, that was like the coolest thing you could have as a waterbed. But he pulls like the sheets off and the waterbed's like translucent, and she's like swimming in the water, and you know, he's all psyched about it. But you know, just kidding, it's Freddy. Fucking pulls him into the waterbed, basically kills him in like his bed that is like a pond now, or like a little swimming pool. And it happens, it's a cool set piece, but it happens very fast. So now Joey's been dispatched, but the line that Freddy gives is, "How's this for a wet dream?" It's a fucking kind of a good line.
Yeah. It's all right.
So Kristen's the only one left. So pretty quickly, the 2 that got brought back from Dream Warriors, Joey and Kincaid, those and played by the original actors, they're fucking done. They're dead. Now we get back to the new cast. We got Rick and his sister Alice. Rick basically shows Alice how not to do karate, essentially. They really stick with this karate bit for Rick though throughout the movie. Least convincing, like, tough guy of all time.
Everybody's a character. Everybody has to have a quirk.
Yeah. Basically, they keep showing this scene in the classroom. And people keep falling asleep in the classroom, and bad things happen. And like half the people end up fucking dying as a result of something that happened in this classroom. But Kristen like sees something. I forget. It's like she sees like, oh, that's what it is. She comes in and Kincaid and Joey's desks are empty. Yeah. And then I think someone comes in and says like, oh, they die. So she gets the idea something bad happened to them. She starts flipping out. She just like launches herself backwards against the wall, cracks her head on the wall. It's kind of a kooky scene. Then she goes to the nurse's office, and like Freddy's the nurse.
Yeah,
it's kind of
I mean, it
Robert
starts as
Englund.
It starts as Robert Englund, just in the nurse's costume, which is great.
Yeah.
And then it switches to Freddy.
Yeah, and then this is really what the most unceremonious like ending to not the character, because it's like I said, it's not, or not to the performance, because it's not Patricia Arquette. It's fucking Tuesday, whatever her name is, Tuesday Night. But she is obviously, she's trying not to fall asleep because she knows Freddy's going to get her in her dreams. Chris's mom is like a horrible bitch and is like, you have to go to sleep. And she's like, no, you don't understand, Mom. If I go to sleep, I'm going to fucking die. Her mom drugs her like with sleeping pills. And then she's like, congratulations, Mom, you just killed me. Which is like a fucking wild line. You just murdered me, is what she says. And then she's like, take that to your goddamn therapist.
therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. So she, it's dream time, obviously. So she's like on the beach, and the creepy little girl, who may or may not be Maggie from your movie.
Just 1 second. As she is drugged and she's like going up the stairs, like the camera is spinning. This is where you get good Rennie Harlan. Like the camera is super disorienting and like actually kind of makes you sick. And when she comes into her room, she makes the most baffling decision to stumble towards her closet, grabs a jacket, half puts it on, and then it falls off, and then she just kind of falls down. Like she went to put a jacket on, and then she stumbles down.
It's like she got tranquilized. It's not like she took a sleeping pill. It's like someone shot her with a tranquilizer gun.
Yeah.
And so that's how she's kind of going down.
Yeah, she's a wildly bear just going down in the middle of her room. But the whole time it is filmed from like this overhead crane shot into a house, and like the camera is spinning around at the same time. And I was like, all right, hey, like he's doing something, the movie doesn't make sense, but it's going. It's going.
Yeah, we're moving the right direction. We're keeping your attention. She's on the beach. The creepy little girl's on the beach, whatever. Freddy's claws come like flying in as like a flaming shark fin on the beach. The flames thing in this was like, I don't know if that was a directorial decision, if that was in the script, but Freddy being tied to like flames is kind of a new thing in this movie. I mean, he's obviously tight. That's how he died. He got set on fire, but like, I don't really think about him as flaming. But that happens a lot in this movie.
Yeah. You usually think of it as like, it's the thing that you hurt him with, because like he burns up into, that's how he was originally killed. So yeah. But
Chris gets caught in, I guess, like quicksand. And then you get that shot that has become a meme of Freddy putting on the sunglasses and like mugging to the camera. But Freddy, like basically shoves her down, like puts her like his like foot on her head, basically shoves her down into the quicksand. And now she's like the almost in the upside down, but it's in the Elm Street house now. So now Kristen is having this like showdown with Freddy. They end up in the boiler room. She calls Alice, just like she had called Kincaid, like, as a dream warrior. She can like pull, people, I guess, into her dreams. She had done that to Joey and Kincaid. She does it to Alice this time. Freddy just throws Kristen, just tosses her ass into the incinerator, but it's like a lake or something. It's like a pool. It's like liquid inside the incinerator. And then she like that kills her, I guess. And Freddy has like all four of the, I guess, the Dream Warriors like in his chest, like kind of popping out of his chest kind of thing. Almost like the reverse version of 2.
Yeah. But Alice absorbs something out of him.
Or out of Kristen.
Yeah, well, because Kristen gets shot into Freddy's chest, but then she takes something out of Freddy's chest, which would have been coming from Kristen. So she
Kristen's
absorbs all her memories or something.
Power, whatever, goes into Kristen before Freddy is able to like absorb her with the rest of the Dream Warrior. So we get that little misdirect. So Kristen, the character who is, through, I don't know how far into this movie we are, like maybe a third, I don't know. Maybe less than that. But she was the hero, obviously. In the third movie, she's now dead, and Alice is the new, main child. So Alice wakes up, basically screams that they have to like save Kristen, but in the real world. But when they get to her house, she's just full on fire in her bed.
She's engulfed.
She's fully engulfed in flames. They're like, I mean, this is a hallmark of the franchise. They're kind of bummed, but not really that bummed. Like people get over their friends and classmates' deaths pretty quick in this franchise. That really goes back to the first movie.
Yeah. It's not that big a deal. It's a big deal. But
no, kids die in from the school literally all the time.
Yeah.
Imagine like in this town, like this school, the end of the year, like memoriam section in the old yearbook is like 14, 15 kids every year.
It's literally the only yearbook with such a thing as an in memoriam.
Well, if you ever seen like, occasionally, some kid, I remember like when I was in school, like a kid passed away, and they had like a big like thing in the back of the book. In this school, it's like half the book is just all the dead kids.
Look at all the signatures I'm not going to get.
Yeah. All the Elm Street children, the children of the original Elm Street parents who burned Freddy, are now dead at this point. Alice is the only one that basically believes in Freddy or recognizes that Freddy is still a threat. So, the whole plot line, not unlike what happened in 2, where the rules kind of went sideways, the whole plot line of the franchise has basically gone out the window at this point. It feels very rushed. That getting rid of Kristen, Kincaid, and Joey, like we might be a quarter of the way through the fucking movie at this point. It feels pretty rushed the way they get rid of all of them. But
I mean, it's pretty rushed, but we're actually like 40 minutes into the film. And
are we that far in at this point?
Yeah. We're at 40 minutes into the film. And one of the reasons why this movie feels so rushed and crazy is because they just keep going from like kill to kill to kill. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take time to set up any of the new rules or anything. They're just like, hey, you figure it out. Like she gets a thing from a guy and you see the thing from the guy. And now we're moving on. Don't spend too much time onto it because now Alice smokes. And it's like it goes
I don't smoke.
Yeah, I don't smoke. But it goes too fast to actually like sit in your brain in any meaningful way. Mm-hmm. And it's only exacerbated by the fact that Alice can't act.
Yeah, it's well, Alice is fucking amazing compared to Tuesday Night. She was bad. She was genuinely bad.
She wasn't good.
Especially compared to Patricia Arquette, she looked like dog shit.
Yeah. But I don't know. The actress playing Alice acts with her teeth. Like she projects her teeth, and this is what I was talking about as doing performances for Rennie so he understands the film, in the way that she acts with her teeth and enunciates in such a way that like her, I don't know, a lot of her lines just lose any feeling or emotion, and it's just like yeah, her and what's the other character's name? Elaine, the gym girl. Both of them do that kind of like over enunciating acting, and it just doesn't feel good.
I got the feeling, at least early on, that she was going to be a little bit of like a little bit of Alice. I mean, like a little bit of a Sissy Spacek kind of character. But then they try to do this big arc with her where she becomes like a badass. We even get like a montage where she like gears up, which we'll talk about real quick. But she's not convincing as a badass at all.
No.
But we do get, Alice falls asleep in class again. The nerd girl gets it at this point. Again, this poor character, she barely is on screen. But we did establish that she has asthma and needs an inhaler, like a rescue inhaler on occasion. And Freddy delivers the line, "Want to suck face?" and then apparently sucks the life out of her. I don't know. And the teacher just like watches her die. The whole class just like essentially just watches her die in class. So this class, bad luck. A lot of people dying, a lot of wacky stuff happening from day to day in this particular classroom. They have like a fight with like invisible Freddy. It's pretty lame. They try to inject some like production value by just making like windows randomly explode and stuff. It doesn't make for an exciting scene, but she is like daydreaming about Rick, but for some reason Freddy doesn't come during this scene. So she's dreaming, and you think this is how Rick is going to get killed, because this is how the nerd girl got killed. This is how like Kincaid and Joey got killed. But for some reason, Freddy just doesn't come. This was a weirdly like hard to explain scene for me, with just like Rick kind of wandering around. It felt like a filler a little bit to me, but so now Alice learns karate just by Rick showing her, I guess. And it's honestly, it feels much in the way like Neo learned karate in the Matrix. It's just like, I know karate now. Like karate is like a state of mind more than anything, I think, in this movie. But she has a dream about. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, she doesn't act like, I mean, he shows her some moves, but like she doesn't actually learn it until he dies.
Yeah, she just like I said, she just decides to teach herself karate. And now she knows karate. So I don't know what other explanation we need besides she decided to learn karate and just downloaded it into her brain. Freddy, she has this dream of Freddy at she's like working at a diner. She walks in a diner and she sees her old self, I guess, working at the diner. And it's like, I'm not really sure what the scary part of this is. It's like, oh, if you're just, this is your future, like working at this diner. I'm not really sure, but Freddy shows up at the diner, and this is where we get that like probably the most memorable scene from this movie, which is the pizza scene, where her friends are all like meatballs kind of on this pizza, and Freddy is picking like, well, I think it's Rick in particular, because he says like, "Rick, you little meatball,"
yeah,
which is a crazy line. And then he eats Rick, and it's really gross. It's like this gross scene where like it's supposed to be a meatball, but like he eats it and almost like an eyeball or something. It kind of pops in this disgusting way. But the meat, the only just way I can describe it is they kind of zoom in, and there's this little like CGI thing where they impose the kids' heads as like the meatballs on the pizza, and then Freddy goes down with one of his blades and plucks one of the meatballs off the surface of the pizza, eats it, and it's Rick's head. And his line is, "I love soul food," which doesn't make sense because pizza wouldn't be what I get. That it's a soul, and that's what Freddy does, I guess, is like.
But pizza isn't soul food.
Pizza isn't soul food, right? And also, like, it would have been funnier if it was, I don't know, if it was mildly racist, that it was like a black kid or something. It just doesn't make sense in any way for Rick or for what he's eating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it didn't have to be pizza. So why did they? I don't know if they were dead set on that line. They could have made it work in a lot of different ways, but
Rennie Harlan does not understand the culture of anything.
No,
he just thinks American food is soul food.
Rennie Harlan is the culture, Steve. So Alice, which I didn't mention this because it doesn't matter because Dan is barely in this movie, but Dan's like the all-American football guy, football hunk. But Alice has a thing for Dan, and they go and rush to save Debbie, who Debbie's like kind of the like rocker chick, a friend of theirs, like the cool girl. She's for some reason working out at the gym, and they get another fairly memorable scene just because it's pretty gross, where she's bench pressing and Freddy like pushes it down on her, you know, the bar, which kind of explodes her elbows backwards, which is pretty unpleasant. But she also like turns into a cockroach.
Yeah,
as well, which is
because she's been going on the entire film about how she doesn't like bugs and she hates bugs, and so he turns her into a bug. And I was like, oh, okay, I like that.
I get it.
I like,
but like, why I guess they had to figure out a way to like break her arm so the little cockroach legs could come through. I guess I don't know. It's kind of a cool. It's kind of a cool sequence. I mean, there's a lot more cool practical effects in this movie than certainly in either of the other two that we talked about,
for sure.
But,
this one's like full of body horror and gross, especially gross out body horror stuff. Mm-hmm.
Dan ends up getting injured when they try to like run Freddy down with a car. I'm skipping forward here because we can't talk about these movies anymore without me laying in traffic or drinking bleach. But now she has a showdown in the dream world eventually with Freddy. So Alice and Freddy are going to have this showdown. But she gets all decked out first. So we get that like Rambo-ish type of it's like a combination between like Rambo and like, I don't know, Home Alone or something, where she's like kind of getting all ready and, you know, putting on the headband and like filling her fucking pockets with ninja stars and shit. I don't know.
I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah, I'm not afraid anymore. You hear me? So then Alice, like, so we didn't talk about it yet, but it's a big Alice in Wonderland analogy here, where like Alice, you know, goes through the looking glass type of thing to get back. I think it's a mirror. Isn't it a mirror she goes into?
Yeah. She drop kicks a mirror.
Yeah. And so now Alice uses all her dumb new powers, I guess. But it turns out it's just mirrors. Like ultimately the thing that like gets Freddy. And it seems weird because then you're looking back on this, like this is the fourth movie and Freddy's never come in contact with a mirror before. Like not in any of the bedrooms. Like how many times he killed people in bedrooms? He never came in contact with mirrors before at this point.
None of that sounds right, especially because I'm pretty sure in 2, there's a scene where Jesse sees himself reflected as Freddy in a mirror.
Yeah, but that wasn't Freddy. That was Jesse as Freddy. This franchise sucks shit. It's bad. I'm sorry for all you guys who are fans of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. You have bad taste. This is a bad franchise. No, the first movie's good. There are other interesting moments, but like, yeah, there's no consistency in terms of all the rules. And for a movie or for a franchise that's so dependent on, you know, the restrictions and rules of how you're gonna like outsmart Freddy's fucking dream powers, they're just wildly inconsistent.
Yeah. Just never having a concrete idea of how to deal with anything leads to the ending of this film, which Rennie Harlan just says, I don't know, he has a mirror. You put the mirror to his face, he explode. I don't know if that's a Finnish accent, but that's it is.
Yeah, all the kids like spirits just come out of him after he explodes from the mirror, and then Alice and Dan are together, and then that's the fucking ending.
Yeah, the set piece is fucking great. Like, this church is all crazy looking. There's a bunch of unmotivated lights from everywhere, and they're all different colors, and there's a whole bunch of like harsh shadows going on, and all this looks great. There's a bunch of stained glass, and then when Freddy actually dies, like, all the souls popping out of him and tearing him apart, and it's this crazy Resident Evil body horror thing happening, and then he tears his own fucking head apart. That's amazing. But to say, I don't know, is a mirror start? The mirror starts it. It's like,
mirrors are mysterious.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, mirrors are, have supernatural connotations to them, and that's all he needed to just say, yeah, that's the end of the movie. Honestly, if they would have taken the way Freddy dies, now the whole mirror thing admittedly was fucking lame, but if they would have took this death and the souls coming out of him and all this and put it at the end of your movie, it would have been so much better. It would have been so much more fulfilling.
And it would have made more sense, because it's saying like, oh, everybody he killed in the past gets to rest in peace. Yeah, like this should have been the fucking end of the franchise, really. But whatever.
Yeah. So I think overall, like, it suffers from pretty much all the same things that all the other movies in this franchise suffer from, which is you feel like you're retrofitting an ending or an angle that they can get one over on Freddy, but also nothing that feels so permanent that you can't make another movie after this. They stumbled onto some good performers in the third movie and took advantage of them for a couple, let's say half, if we're being generous, in this movie, and then had to rely on pretty shitty performances for the rest of the movie. I think the thing that probably makes this movie better than the other two, in my opinion, is at least most of the characters weren't unbelievably annoying and wanted to kill multiple of them. And there was a lot more wacky effects.
Yeah.
In this movie, there were more fun effects in this one compared to the other two. There were some in the second one, but they were a little focused near the beginning of the movie. The pulling his, you got the body, I've got the brain thing, and all that stuff. Like, this movie, it felt like had a little bit more of that. But it's impossible not to draw a comparison to Dream Warriors. And this movie is nowhere near as fun as Dream Warriors.
Yeah, it's not Dream Warriors at all. It's worth pointing out, like, the budget for 2 was $3 million, and then the budget for this one is $6.5 million. So that's why all the effects and everything else looks better. Like, they just had more money to throw at it. But they still didn't spend any of it on actors. I think the hiring of the actors probably went through the same, like, just like hoping to hit the lottery. Like, they hit the lottery on the first one when they had Johnny Depp, and then they hit lottery again when they had Patricia Arquette in the third one. And then all the other films, they didn't hit lottery because everybody fucking stinks.
Yeah, it's tough. The biggest disappointment when you jump from the third one to the fourth one is going from Patricia Arquette to Tuesday Night. And it's not even like, oh, she's going to be the same. She's going to be the same. She's going to be as good. She's a dramatic drop off. Like, she just is like almost no selling it.
Yeah. It's, she's not there the entire film, but also just the handoff to Alice isn't good either. Like,
Alice is better than Kristen, but it's still not great. Not much charisma, or I don't know. The camera is not as excited to see her as Patricia Arquette, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. Is like they all pretty much lack charisma. Like Dan is a nothing.
Yeah, he's just a. Even if he was just like a dumb, he honestly does nothing. I mean, there's the one sequence where they go into the house or whatever. That like is the only time he actually has some lines, and he does nothing. Yeah. I
don't know.
Rick tries. Boy, he tries his ass off.
He does try, but also it all feels like a kid doing karate in his backyard. So
if they would have made Rick like the lovable nerd, you know what I mean? If Rick was like a 16 Candles like kind of lovable nerd type of character, that might be fun. But they try to make him like cool tough guy, and it's just you ain't selling it.
Nah. Nope.
But
and then she gets a fucking laser gun from Lisa Turtle for no reason, and then that's barely explained.
I forgot about that.
It's just I think that happened.
There's a big chunk in the middle here where between that and, like I said, that like extended daydream sequence of like Rick, I think it's Rick fighting Invisible Freddy. It's like, it's not going to work. Everyone knew Rick was going to get his ass kicked except for Rick, I feel like.
Yeah. Right.
No one was like, wow, this is scary. You beat tough Rick. No one thought that.
It's just one of those, like, if we already watched Kincaid push a car on top of him, and Kincaid knows how to use his strength in the dream world, because that was the whole point of
his
Dream Warriors.
He's strong.
Yeah. There's no way we believe Rick, who doesn't know how to control his dreams, is going to karate his way out of this.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the Dream Master, which spoiler alert, guys, Alice is the Dream Master.
Is
Who
she?
Cares?
I thought she learned to be the Dream Master from somebody else. There's just this whole plot line of like she learned to be a Dream Master, but from who? We never see it happen.
Partially from Kristen, but then also here's the math. Here's how this plays out. Kristen taught her how to be a Dream Warrior, right?
Yeah.
Rick taught her karate.
Yeah.
Kinda. Dream Warrior plus karate equals Dream Master.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's how it works.
I thought she was listening to like Tony Robbins tapes that were telling her how to be a Dream Master.
I think that taught her karate, maybe, because Rick sure didn't teach her karate. Anyway, all right, those are 3 dog shit movies, you guys. So let's get into the voting here. So, how do we want to play this out? You and I each are gonna vote for which one of the 3, assuming we like our own. Is that safe to assume we like our own still?
No. I don't. Okay. I honestly don't want to belabor this. The Dream Master wins. Everything else sucks.
All right, fair enough. At least we're in agreement on this. Yeah, 6 is unwatchable. Absolutely fucking unwatchable. 2 is honestly barely a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Two's
an interesting movie.
Yeah. It's bad. It's interesting, and it's interesting to imagine it as a better movie.
Yeah,
and as a better movie that doesn't have Freddy in it.
Accolade. That's always a great accolade. It's interesting to imagine this movie as a better movie.
Yeah, like there's a better movie in there that's about the AIDS panic of the 80s. That's about somebody coming to terms with their survivor's guilt of being a gay person who has AIDS and then their lovers around them dying. There's a far more interesting tale to tell there. But Freddy knocking over the chip bowl is not it. So
yeah. No, it's probably not. I mean, that is scary. I mean, if you're like if you're what's his name from your movie and you're that stoned and somebody knocks over your chip bowl, it might be a bummer. All right. Well, I mean, that kind of does away with, unless somehow no, that's pretty much it.
Nope.
That's pretty much
They
it.
can't
That
win.
does it.
They can't win.
That does
I
it.
already decided they can't win.
All right. Well, that delivers the belt back to, obviously, its rightful owner, which is a good start. So I will come up with I have a couple that I have a couple that I've been holding on to in terms of punishment movies, but I also have a couple that I really want to watch that have been on my to watch list here, that I think deserve a look before I officially hand down my punishment for all you deserving, I'm just going to say it, losers out there. That's what you guys are. You've lost. What do you call somebody who loses? Loser. Sorry. Bunch of losers.
All you ding dong dildos who made us watch these movies, you have to watch next week's punishment film, because
we all lost. Really, if you think about this particular showdown, we all already lost before we voted.
Yeah, and if there's any punishment film in our past catalog that you haven't watched, you have to go back and watch it too. If you foolishly and cockily skipped over Fish Piss, you all have to go watch Fish Piss now. Sorry,
you got to watch Fish Piss.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna think long and hard about this, because I've got some ones that have been sitting there, that I've been waiting to pull out, and I might pull out one of the big guns, because there are a couple in there that you guys, you deserve it. You deserve it, not just because I won and you lost. It's really more because you made us do this in general. So, All right. And also, don't forget, while you're wallowing in your misery and soaking up your punishment, like nasty, disgusting little losers, you need to go vote on our Showdown topic for June. Remember, here's what we got to choose from: modern slashers, Herschel Gordon Lewis, or Korean horror. All right. So think about that long and hard while you're sitting there in your messy little wet loser pee pants. Make sure you go vote for, I'm going to vote for Korean horror. I like the modern slashers. Don't make us do Herschel Gordon Lewis. I don't want to create an antagonistic relationship with the viewers, but don't you fucking dare make us watch 3 Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, because there's only 2 that are good.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I enjoy them despite them not being great.
God, there's some boring ones. Really fucking boring. Anyway. All right. Anything else, Steve, before we wrap up this here marathon?
Not that comes to mind. I don't think there's any other notes that I had that were just like,
Nightmare on Elm Street's coming off the wheel, by the way.
Yeah. We're never doing another one of these again, unless
there aren't even enough movies left, right?
No,
what haven't we done?
It's just 5. Just 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 and then the remake.
Oh, yeah, and the 2010 remake. So like it would have to land on worse remakes, and our guest would have to pick it, because I know Brian and I we're not gonna tolerate it. We're not gonna put up with any more fucking of this goddamn franchise.
I've been victimized enough by you rat bastards. All right. On that note, for the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm tired.
Go drink your fish piss, you rat fucks.
You jack
Get out of here. Bye.
Bye-bye.